Hi, everybody. We're going to give it about 2 minutes for people to join, so we will start at 2 minutes after the hour. Hey, everybody. We'll get started in a little less than 1 minute, just giving everybody a second to join. All right, we are ready to go ahead and dive in. So today we're going to be talking about calendar planning and target setting for this year. This year, of course, has already started, but the target setting and calendar planning is a year-round activity that you're doing over and over all throughout the year to check and adjust with your employees. So it's a great time to dive in and start working on your strategy. For our agenda today, we'll do a quick welcome and introductions to our wonderful panelists. And then we'll be talking about designing a well-rounded volunteering calendar. Like, what does that actually look like? Setting achievable and important measurable targets, and then boosting employee participation and keeping that engagement going throughout the year. And then go ahead throughout the session, drop in any questions that you have. We will have Q&A at the end if we have time to get to that. If not, we'll make sure that we circle back and answer your questions offline. Right, and I will introduce myself. My name is Missy. I lead our global engagement team here at Goodera. I'm based in Dallas, Texas. And I will hand it over to Mady to introduce herself.
Thank you, Missy, and hello, everybody. My name is Mady Braga, and I am the Corporate Affairs Manager at Aero Electronics. Our headquarters is in Denver, Colorado, and I've been at Aero for 5 years, a little bit over 5 years, and working with global volunteer engagement for a little bit over a year and a half now.
Well, welcome. We're so happy to have you here with us today. I do want to give you a moment to really spotlight your programs and tell us what you've been up to at Aero before we dive into the fun calendar planning discussions.
That's great. So I always say that Aero is one of those companies that is huge and nobody knows about it. And the reason for that is because we are behind the scenes helping very famous and companies that everybody knows about, such as HP, Honeywell, Dell, do their business. Probably every day you touch a lot of electronics that have been through Aero. We're the largest distributor of electronic components in the world, and we are also involved in a lot of things with technology. So we have been in business since 1935, and we have more than 85 countries where we serve. As I mentioned before, our headquarters is in Colorado, but we are all over the world. And I would say that this is my favorite part of the job. I get to interact with people from all over the world and really, really love the interaction, especially being originally from Brazil and having the opportunity to work with people not only from Brazil, but from all over the world. Last year was a very exciting year for us, and I will talk more about it during the panel, but we had over 4,000 employees, unique volunteers participate in volunteer activities last year. Our employees served more than 13,000 hours. We supported over 1,000 charities with Dollars for Doers and volunteer activities in 57 countries.
Amazing. Well, I'm sure we'll ask you a whole bunch of more questions about that as we get going. Well, the first thing we're going to talk about together today, Mady, is designing a well-rounded volunteering calendar. So what exactly does that mean? Well, first we want to hear from you all. What is the biggest challenge in planning your volunteering calendar? So when you're scoping out what you're going to do for the year, what tends to block you the most? Go ahead and jump in the poll and let us know what you think. So you've got aligning with organizational goals, maintaining momentum, engaging employees, identifying impactful initiatives, and tracking progress. And a couple more seconds and we'll be able to see the results here. All right, engaging employees. Like that's a really big topic with lots of facets to it and a lot of nuances depending on like what kind of company you are. So no surprises, that's the most common answer. Second most, aligning with organizational goals. We know that can be super challenging. Employees, different parts of your organization definitely have things that they want to focus on. How do you align those to your organizational goals so that you can really get that leadership support to take part in those initiatives? All right, so let's go ahead and start diving in on planning. So we're going to talk a little bit about what are the key elements of a year-round volunteering calendar. So you want choices, of course. You want to meet people where they're at. So including an array of opportunities. So not just doing the same project over and over, not primarily focusing on a campaign or a particular month of service, but really looking at a broad portfolio of what you're offering to employees. So that's going to be those moments that matter throughout the year. Engaging in local communities all over the world, different types of volunteering. So really meeting people where they're at, doing some things virtual, some things in person. You want to aim for a strategic impact. So that gets into that aligning with organizational goals. Maybe skills-based and pro bono is a piece of that, part of that overall volunteering portfolio for the year. Disaster response is another one that can be, it feels very point in time sometimes, but it can be something that you think about from a year-round standpoint of how are we preparing for and responding to these as an organization as those things arise. And then you want to enable sustained engagement. So what does that mean? Making it approachable for your employees. So building a champion network is a huge piece of that. So it's not all you. It's not all meant for people to raise their hands and do something anew every time. But having a sustained champion network all over the globe or, locally, depending on how you're based, so that you have these employees really set up and empowered to be able to lead volunteering alongside you for your company. We all know leadership engagement is huge, of course. But in order to really sustain that volunteering vibe of people wanting to participate, people continually diving in, you also want to celebrate what people have done. So that's everything from storytelling to pausing to recognize people's efforts in volunteerism. And then lastly, of course, you want constant accessibility. So if you've got a big volunteering campaign coming up and people are saying what's next, there needs to be something that they can reach out and grab when they want to get involved in more initiatives throughout the year. So one question for you, Mady, on that note. So balance. So I know a lot of companies tend to have campaigns. A lot of companies have some year-round initiatives, and some companies have both and harmonize those really well. So how do you do that? How do you balance your big splash campaigns and your year-round initiatives?
Yeah, so at Era, we have two big 1 month volunteer campaigns. They happen in the months of April and October. And then throughout the year, we have a few spotlights where we have a theme. For example, well being or the celebration of International Volunteer Day, for example. But we also offer our champions the opportunities to organize disaster relief and ad hoc events throughout the year. As we all know, unfortunately, with the increase of natural disasters happening all over the world all year round, it's very important to have those opportunities readily available for when they are needed. And we also believe that it's very important to give our champions the freedom to support the causes they believe in. So we also give them the opportunity, as I mentioned, to organize those events throughout the year. So that gives us a good balance between the campaigns, the spotlights that we have, and also year-round initiatives.
I love the note on disaster relief for champions too. I think with disaster relief, it can get even more stressful for CSR practitioners because employees are asking so many questions and raising their hands about what are we going to do about this. but setting your volunteer champions up to be able to lead disaster relief initiatives, whether it's giving, volunteering, fundraising, anything, I think puts the power in their hands for the people who really want to know what we're doing about it. It's what would you like to do about it? And setting them up to
Exactly.
be able to make a difference. We're going to get into targets in a moment, but before we do that, I wanted to ask, when you're looking at all of your volunteer initiatives throughout the year, obviously, like you are one matey, how do you delegate? So how do you tie delegation into your overall strategy? Like when you're looking at planning your calendar through the year?
Yeah, that's a big one, right? Because we all know that usually all over the world, CSR teams are very small, and our team is very small too. So our champions are our rock stars, and without them, we cannot do the amazing work that we do. Especially if you have a big company like Arrow has over 22,000 employees. We are global. We cannot be everywhere. So it's very important that we offer our champions all the tools and resources that they need to organize wonderful events that are meaningful and impactful in their communities. So here at Arrow, we developed a toolkit with several user guides, flyers that are ready for them to print or to share electronically with their networks. We have internal communications guidelines, finance guidelines, and many other resources to help them be successful. In our first kickoff meeting of the year, this year, we shared with them a timeline with everything we have planned for the year. This way, they will have enough time to discuss it with their local leaders, with their teams, and plan their events. We also offer office hour sessions before our large campaigns where they can join and ask any questions during that time. So I would say that to summarize what I just mentioned, right? The key is to give our champions all the support and resources they need so they can successfully help us. Sorry, as you can see, my arrow has a very sustainable office. And if I don't move too much, it turns it off. Sorry about that.
It's fun and interactive. I know you've invested a lot, especially over the last year, into like enhancing the experience for your volunteer champions. Has that been a big lift for you so that you can think more broadly and strategically about your programs?
Well, yes, right, because we need to have uh, we need to be sustainable, and we need to make sure that we have everything in place. When I started um, in this job, we had 26 global volunteer champions, and we ended last year with more than 150. And it makes it impossible to talk to them and have meetings one-on-one when you have such a large group of people. So that's why we have invested a lot of time, and we will invest even more time this year in making sure we have everything that they need to do what they want in a very easy way. So this year we're going to have workshops for them how to lead a Goodera event successfully. We're going to have a workshop to give them some information about how to successfully organize an event that is without Goodera's help. So we are always trying to improve all the resources that we have available for them and to make sure that they have all the training necessary to help us out. And I think having like kickoff meetings, workshops, and this event where we have a lot of people come at the same time has been amazing. And our onboarding I would say was really 101 when I first started because I was trying to onboard as many people as possible. And now I have it once a month and I wait so I have a big group of people and then I do it once. So yeah, many things have changed and we keep like adjusting to make it, even better. So we are not constantly like busy because we want to delegate. We want to have them help us, but successfully.
Yeah, I love the investment in the one-to-many direction. So the toolkits, I love the group onboarding, and to your point, I think that is how it starts with those programs. Is people will come to you directly, hey, can you help me plan this event? And you're kind of teaching the same lessons over and over. So I love the investment in one-to-many, like workshops, everything like that, so that you're putting your time into helping a lot of people grow at once. And sure, there's always going to be one-off conversations, and every champion is a little bit different. But that covers most of it, I think. I'm going to dive next into just a couple of examples here. So when we're talking about planning your volunteer calendar throughout the year, we know there are a lot of moments that matter throughout the year. So everything from Women's History Month to Earth Day coming up. We've got Juneteenth and Pride coming up in the summer. So one note for everybody here, something that we do when we partner with our clients is we always have a curated catalog available for every one of these moments that matter throughout the year. So we're looking at a pretty US calendar here, but it's something that we can do globally. And knowing that you have this available as a resource for your teams, for your champions. So maybe your volunteer champions really want to do volunteering for Earth Month and dive into that. And there are definitely ways that we can help make that easy for them. All right, so I love talking about numbers. I love spreadsheets. Let's talk about goals. So setting achievable and measurable targets. We're going to do a poll for everybody. I'm so curious to know from y'all what you measure. So what type of volunteering goal does your organization prioritize? We've got total volunteer hours, participation percent, geo participation, so like how many countries, cities are participating, community impact metrics like lives impacted, and then employee engagement feedback. So that can be satisfaction scores, anecdotal feedback, anything else. And then other, if there's something that we didn't list. We'll give it just a moment and then we'll see the answers. All right, so looks like, well, it's actually a little bit of a surprise here. So definitely expected to see total volunteer hours at the top there. We know that one is a really great, very common thing to measure with. Employee engagement feedback, though, at number 2. Would love to see in the Q&A if anybody has any specific notes on how they're measuring for employee engagement feedback. That's a new one to bump up at the top there. Very interesting. All right, so let's dive into the specifics of setting achievable and measurable targets. So this, of course, can look different for every company. So what you measure, of course, has to be tied to your why. It needs to be tied to what's important to your leaders, what's important to your customers, and what's important to your employees. So this can take many different shapes. So I wanted to call out some important things to consider. So looking across, how are we engaging? How are we impacting? And then what is the ROI of all this volunteering work that we're doing? So when we look at employee engagement metrics, some really common ones, what we just saw in the survey, employee participation rate, I think is the most common one that we see here at Goodera with the different companies that we work with. And then usually there's going to be a component of total volunteer hours that can tell a different story. Maybe you have some long-term projects. Maybe you have some very avid volunteers who like to put in a lot of volunteering work throughout the year. And then global participation. So if you know as a company that you want to grow your participation from 20 to 30% this year, it's really smart to look at where are we participating the most globally, and where do we maybe have some gaps where we could give those employees in that area more support to reach places where we haven't reached with our programs yet. When we're looking at impact metrics, these can be some of the most rewarding to track, but also some of the most challenging to track. So looking at beneficiary impact. So lives impacted, I think, is the most direct version of that, but that can also take a more longitudinal approach. So what was the impact of this particular project months or years down the road? Anytime you're wanting to talk about impact, you definitely want to go beyond reporting and tell the story. You want to connect with whether it's your employees or the nonprofits you work with or your shareholders to tell them the story about the good that you're doing and really make that emotional connection. And then if you do skills-based volunteering, that can be its own kind of impact metric. The actual projects that you're doing, the benefit that it had for the nonprofit or the beneficiaries ultimately, as well as the skills-based impact that had on your employee base. And then when we look at ROI, so I think none of us are strangers to really needing to make the case on the why behind volunteering. So whether you're making the case for the first time, whether you're wanting to grow your programs, whether you're wanting to engage mid-level management to really boost volunteering for their employees, you may need to speak to the ROI on volunteering. So can you tie how many people volunteer to what their retention rates are as employees and really paint that picture? Can you show, hey, people who volunteered generally are more satisfied employees? Likely you can. Or even just giving feedback of the employees who participated in those actual volunteer programs and show how that made for a more well-rounded work experience for them. And then, of course, all of these kind of ladder up to the business impact. So there are ways that you can actually tie people who are volunteering into important metrics within your business, whether it's, this is the actual cost of an attrit of an employee leaving. And these people who volunteered were this percent more likely to be retained, to actually tie that into dollars and cents of how volunteering actually helps to protect your business long term. So I wanted to ask you a question, Mitty. When it comes to the measurables here, how do you strike a balance between an ambitious goal and a realistic expectation? And what does that look like when you're publicizing that goal with your close team, your internal folks, and your broader employee base?
That's a great question, because I think it's very, very important to look at historical data to set realistic expectations and goals. But it's also fun to have an ambitious goal that is shared only with your team and the champions. I call it my secret goal. So our goal for volunteer engagement last year was 17%, and we surpassed our goal, and we ended the year with 22%, which was super exciting. And we ended 2023 with 11% volunteer participation. So by the end of 2024, we had doubled our volunteer participation, which was really, really exciting. And throughout the year, I would always like tell my champions, like, oh, we are at this, maybe we can get to that, especially with people that have logged into your cause, the platform we use for volunteer engagement. So we always had like some fun talks about like our secret goals. So this year our goal is 23%, only 1% more than last year. And we set this goal for this year, not only because we know that the increase of volunteer participation may increase slower now, right? Because we have like done a lot of work, we have engaged a lot of different countries, different people, and we know that might be a little bit slower now. And also because we are very close to the industry benchmark, which is 23%. But we can still have our ambitious goal internally, and maybe we'll reach it, maybe we'll not, but it will still fun to have that ambitious goal that is just like, for our team, and something that maybe we'll achieve, maybe we won't, but it's always like exciting to have that fun, engaging interactions with your champions.
I love the term secret goal. I'm going to start using that. I'm curious too when we're talking about goals, because like you can plan, but there are a lot of variables throughout the year, and people can surprise you. So do you have anything you can share with us around, like maybe you had a target and you adjusted it based off of, surprises that popped up throughout the year?
Um, yes. So once again, right, we always like look at data and then we make analysis. I thought it was funny when you said that you love data, you love spreadsheets. Like I was never a data-driven person. I was never someone who liked spreadsheets, and now I love it all because it's always like very exciting to look at what we have and where we want to be and make the right decisions there. But as you said, right, sometimes like you just have to adjust because it's how things are. We have to be flexible. And I think that's the number one thing in not only our job, but in any job. And for example, we had an event here in Denver last year. It was right before Earth Month, so we wanted to have an event that was kind of exciting for everybody to kick off Earth Month, to start telling people about the events happening the following month. And we were planning to put together 500 kits in 3 hours. And each volunteer was supposed to put together just one kit. But as people were going through the line, they were so excited and they were like, we want to do more. Can we do more? And at first, we're kind of hesitant. We're like, well, but our goal is, right, to have enough for people to come during those 3 hours and put together a kit. But we had to make a change. We had to look at what was happening and then adjust our target there. So instead, we started telling people, it was like, okay, let's see how fast we can put all these 500 kids. And everybody was super exciting. Some people were like going over and over again, like in line to do more and more. And at the end, everybody was like super excited, feeling super accomplished. So that ended up being like a lot more meaningful and a lot more exciting. So I think it's very important to always be aware of everything that's changing, and most of all, to be flexible and know that um, things will or may need to be adjusted, and that's how it is.
I love that. And what a adjustment on the fly too, because I think you have to tap into, you've got these people who are on the cusp of like a good experience being a really great experience, and like really letting them have fun with that. I love that adjustment. It sounds like you guys had a great time.
Yes.
I've had that experience too with volunteers where I even had someone, say, oh, my coworker isn't here today and I want to put one together, in honor for her. Can I do that? And you just always want to be able to say yes to that, because people are, tapping into volunteering sometimes for the first time. And they're excited, and you want to really double down on that excitement.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I was going to actually touch a little bit more on metrics. If you can jump down for me, Heba. If anybody wants to scan this QR code, this is a super helpful guide we have on benchmarking metrics. So we call it our VQ report. This is essentially an industry report of volunteering metrics and standards and averages and everything throughout the volunteering world. And a couple of main stats that I want to call out from this, and the actual VQ report will delve deep into like industry specifics, company size specifics, but some of the biggest numbers that we want to call out that are good benchmarks for everybody, really. And hats off to you, Mady. You guys have already exceeded this 20% here. I know you're at 22 now. So 20.1, somewhere in that zone, is the median workforce participation across all corporate volunteering programs. So when you're looking for a good stat to say, like, are we exceeding what most companies are doing? That's a really good one to start with. Another one is going to be, on average, volunteers contribute 6.9 hours per person who volunteers. So this is going to be everything from your employee who participated in a single 1 hour event to perhaps employees that are doing longer skills-based or like recurring with their kids' school, that type of volunteering throughout the year. All averages out to right at about 7 hours per person is what we tend to see. And then something we could talk for hours about, we won't get into too much today, but there's a lot of information about this in the VQ report. There are different levers that can help enable your volunteering, and we'll get into this a little bit more today. But things like dollars for doers, volunteer time off policies, when companies are using one or more of those, the trend that we see is their volunteering numbers are 1.5 times higher than companies who aren't using those types of enablers. And then looking at industry specifically, I know this is what you were noting earlier, Mady. Quick glance at workforce participation averages per industry. Ranges from the financial industry is the highest with 23.34%. So that's the typical workforce participation that we see. And then once you get down into industrials and consumers, especially where you have companies with a lot of frontline workforce, people who aren't at computers, aren't as accessible, or maybe a lot of hourly employees, tends to trend more into the mid to low teens. And looking at company size, companies with fewer employees tend to volunteer more. So the norm, of course, is around 20% for all companies. When you look at great big companies with more than 50,000 employees, that's going to trend closer to 16%. And then when you look at small to medium businesses all the way up to 5,000 employees, that's going to actually trend closer to 25%. And of course, that all has to do with, global distribution, culture of smaller companies versus larger companies. But our VQ report digs into a ton of those details. It also has like it's almost like a worksheet, like you can fill in your details for your company and it'll actually give you benchmarking specific to your company that you can dive into. So I love data. I think it's really fun. Definitely recommend diving into that. And Heba, can you actually bounce back real quick to that QR code so people can see that again in case they didn't get a chance to grab it? We'll hover there for just 1 second. That's the link to our actual report. All right, we can jump into the next section now. Thank you, Heba. Okay, so next up, we are going to talk about boosting employee participation and sustaining engagement. So you've done all this planning, you've done all this target setting. How do we get people to actually participate and keep them participating throughout the year? All right, so polling question for everybody on the call. How do you incentivize and motivate your employees to volunteer? And these are pretty broad stroke answers here. So we've got recognition programs. This is a multiple choice, so feel free to select multiple. Recognition programs like awards and shout outs, giving incentives. So anything where there's a monetary component or a sort of monetary component like volunteer grants and dollars for doers, and then volunteer time off. We'll give it just a moment and then we'll see what everybody said. All right, volunteer time off is the resounding winner here. So 70% of you are leveraging volunteer time off. That's awesome. Recognition programs, I think everybody does this informally in a way. It looks like 35% of you are leveraging this in a more formal way. And then dollars for doers programs at 22%. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what these different enablers are for boosting employee participation. So target setting and planning. So of course, having a field to play on, having a plan, having accessible opportunities for people, that's a huge enabler. Campaign theme ideation. So we've heard so many fun examples from different companies around how they theme their campaigns to get people excited around like something that's really relevant to them. So everything from, catchy names based on the time of the year, things that are relevant to your company culture. We've also seen really cool themes around like, it's our 111th year and we want to do 111 volunteer events. Just something fun to get people engaged around beyond the yearly campaign. Internal communication. So obviously communication is everything in just about everything in life, and volunteering is no different. So how are you letting people know about this in a way that is productive and concise? Everything from signing up for events to knowing what they need to do when they have signed up, to knowing what happened and hearing the story of the company's overall impact. We talked a good bit with Mady around volunteer champion network training and onboarding. She gave some great tips for that. I personally believe volunteer champion networks are the #1 enabler for your programs, really putting the people who are the most passionate about the work in the driver's seat. Seamless execution. So what are ways that you can tap into technology, resources? Also, Mady noted some of this around champion networks. So what are the one-to-many things that you can do to keep things running smoothly? And then finally, impact measurement and communication. So we did the thing, we had a great time, we made a big impact. What's the story that we're telling? How are we sharing this with people? And how are we as a group, as an organization, celebrating that? So question for you, Mady, when we talk about volunteering strategies, what have you found most effective for driving employee participation? It can be anything on the screen here, but also just anything that you can think of.
Yeah, sure. So I think those are all great things, and I agree with you about the champion network. Without them, as I mentioned before, right, we can't really do any of the work that we do. So it's very important to give them the driver's seat, as I mentioned before. And it's also important, as I mentioned a little bit ago, that the events that we have are meaningful and impactful, and also that we offer a variety of events throughout the year. And then going back to data, we need to be constantly analyzing the data to determine what type of volunteer events drives the most participation. So that helps us when we look at the data, that's going to help us determine whether on-site or off-site events drive more participation, or if during work hours, after hours, events would work better. So I think that's very important. You look at the data and you see, okay, I have this event on Saturday and there are just 2 people showing up. Do I want to continue doing that? So here in Denver, for example, we have found that the volunteer events that are during lunchtime drive the most participation. So we try to have most of our events on site during those hours, because we know that for our employees, it works like the best. And we have heard from many of them, oh, I love that I can just come down here at my lunchtime and do some good and then feel good to end my day. So that is always like very important, not only to look at the data, but also like listening to what the volunteers are saying. And then in other locations, oops, sorry about that. I guide our champions to do the same. So I always tell them to find a date and time that works for most people. And if they're not sure, to ask. I tell them, ask other people, ask your team, ask around, and see what is their preferred time. When is the preferred time of the month? And then give the champions the flexibility to organize the events when it's more convenient for them. We try to have, of course, our campaigns and our spotlights, but when champions come back to us and say, oh, like we would love to do this event, but that's for Earth Month, but we cannot do it in April because we have these other things coming up. Can we do it in March? Can we do it in June? We always give them the flexibility to do so. We try to have it during the volunteer campaigns, during the spotlights, but I think it's also important, and I think you heard me say that before in another panel, like we have to listen to what works for people. We cannot be very inflexible, and we cannot want it our way, because we have to see what's best for everybody and what works. The important thing is to volunteer. So let's see how we can make that happen.
So I'm hearing a lot of listening moments and measuring and kind of check and adjust. I know we do surveys of like the champions experience, of like the Goodera host experience. We get a lot of good actionable insights from that. But I think most importantly, the volunteers experience. And so any of the events that we do, we're asking at the end of the event for their feedback. So everything from like a score, like an easy measurable, to like their actual thoughts. And of course, a lot of those are just very happy sentences, people who have just had a good time. But sometimes you get some of the best recommendations out of that. Like, hey, I love doing this, but next time I want to go outside and do something, I want to really get my hands dirty and go outside. Or hey, I'd really love to do these, on Tuesdays if we could. It was hard to make it on a Wednesday. So you get a lot of really good insights from that. And it sounds like Maida, you really tapped into listening. And I think that's so important when you're doing your calendar and thinking of your calendar planning, not just as like, well, this is our plan for the year, it's what we're doing, but like when are our moments where we're stopping and listening and adjusting forward with what we've learned.
Exactly.
I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to encouraging ongoing involvement throughout the year beyond just the big campaign or someone's maybe their first time volunteering, what are your insights for the best ways to approach that? Like beyond that first.
Oh, sorry. Yes. That's the key, right? We want them to come, and we want them to come back and do more of it. And we know that most people, when they come and they volunteer, or if they go to a volunteer event, it just feels so good that they want to keep coming back. So we want to make sure it all feels very good. So I think it's very, very, very important to make it amazing. So I think that is like my number one thing. I want all the events to be really, really amazing for whoever is there. And also, like our champions are very important to make that happen. Because, as I mentioned before, they have the opportunity here at Arrow to organize ad hoc events and keep their teams engaged. So they will organize activities and events that people are interested in and that are that make sense for their location, for their culture. We also here at Arrow, we partner really well with our internal communications team. And we publish articles in our intranet about volunteer initiatives or exciting events that happen. We talk to everybody about Dollars for Doers. So right now we just had an article that was published with a video with the impact that we had in 2024 and some pictures from various events. So we are really hoping that people that never volunteer look at that, but also the people that were there to come back and keep doing it because they see that what they did was meaningful, was impactful, and it made a difference. We also have a local teams channel where we always share upcoming opportunities. So we have that here for Denver, and I also tell our champions that's a good idea for them to have it. So here in Denver, every time someone mentions, "Oh, I love coming to these events, but I wish there was a way for me to know when they have been scheduled." And I always tell them, great, I can tell you, can I add you to this channel? So I think that's a very good way. We don't have a newsletter here at Arrow, but I think that's something that I would love to put in place. So it's in kind of it's here in the back of my mind. I think it would be great to have not only the Teams channel, but a global newsletter where we can have people opt in and then they can be aware of things that happen and things that will be coming up so they can sign if they would like. And also, I think like it's, as I mentioned before, like if you have a volunteer event that is impactful, that is meaningful, that is fun, they will want to come back. So I think that I have a very strong background in customer service. And I think,
That makes a lot of
it
sense.
does, yes, it doesn't matter, right? What you're doing for CSR, if you are like in customer service or whatever else you work, you want always to give the best to the people that are there doing whatever they're doing at that moment. So I think we want to make sure that the volunteer events are perfect, are smooth, and everybody has a great time and feels good about the impacts that they're doing.
I love that. I think the biggest takeaway I have from what you just shared is the empathy. I think it sounds like you truly put yourself in the shoes of the people who are volunteering, and how they feel and how that can have an impact on your programs. And I think that shows in the growth of your programs for sure. So I'm picturing like if you're a employee who volunteers a ton, you know where to find that information. So I just volunteered in this project. I know where to find more. I know how I can become a champion. You have maybe your employee who volunteered for the first time and they're seeing the story of what they did. They're seeing their face. That's reinforcing how good they feel about it. And again, they know where to go and find it. They know there's the Teams channel. They know there's your platform to go and actually find that next event, the what then. And then you've got your employee that maybe is getting a little bit of FOMO because they haven't volunteered before, but they see their friends and all these other people and this cool thing that looks really meaningful, and they have a clear path of where to go to get started. So sounds like a very empathetic, but also data-driven approach, which is kind of the perfect marriage for programs like these. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Before we dive into, I know we've got some Q&A before we dive into that. Did you have any last thoughts that you wanted to share with us?
Uh, yes, sure. So, well, what are the don'ts of planning your volunteer calendar? So, some of the things that I can share is that it's not a good idea to plan spotlights and campaigns for every month of the year. We have learned that that becomes way too much for our champions and volunteers. Um, the other thing is that we can't be inflexible. As I mentioned before, there has to be flexibility if events need to happen outside of the planned months in some locations. We also have to be aware of holiday and vacation trends. We learned last year that it's very, very hard to plan volunteer events during summer months, not only here in the US, but in other parts of the world. So we know that in Europe, lots of countries take their vacation when it's summer. So we realized that if we had events during that time, like we would not get any participation. So that is important too. We need to make sure that we know when we have long vacations coming, long holidays, and don't schedule anything around that. And then my last tip would be to not schedule volunteer events to conflict with other events. For example, here at Arrow, we have an annual leadership forum, and many employees attend this conference. So we want to make sure that we are aware of big conferences, big events that lots of people are going to be in and not volunteer any spotlights, any campaigns for those times.
Yeah, and again on the empathy note, I think you're in tune with other people are also planning their calendars for their things. So all the calendars need to be aware of each other. Great call out. We do have a few questions that we can dive into. I did first want to make sure everybody is aware. We have our big Global Volunteering Summit coming up. I was going to say next month, but it's February now. So this is coming up at the end of this month. This is February 26th and 27th. So this is a gathering of social impact practitioners where we talk about all kinds of things like what we talked about today, trends around volunteering, everything from skills-based volunteering to impact measurement to campaigns, thought leadership in partnership with some of the companies that we work with and some of our partners. Basically, just I like to call it CSR camp, but a 2-day event where we're all gathering together and boosting each other's knowledge with our experiences. So feel free to scan that and register for the event that's happening later this month. And we'll dive into a couple of questions here. We've talked, I do really like this question. Mehdi, we've talked about big picture metrics, like how we're measuring our programs overall. Someone wanted to know, what are the metrics to measure the success of an individual activity? So when you're looking at an activity and you're like, hey, did this go well? What's informing that yes or no for you?
And I believe the question is around like people recording their individual hours, correct?
I think it's I think it looks like it's team-based actually, but if you want to share an insight for individual, that's great too.
Okay, so here at Arrow, we have the team building, right? And sorry, the team events, and we also have the possibility for employees to record their hours individually. And in that case, for the first time last year, we started an award for our employees, and whoever gets the most hours that they recorded of individual volunteering, they get an award. And also if they participate in more team events. So now we have the first year and we have the numbers from that. So in that case, the way we're going to see if things have improved, if people realize that they can record their hours individually, because that has been a struggle here, because most people don't know that they can do that and they can still earn dollars for doers. We're hoping that more people will record their hours individually, and then looking at how many people recorded last year, how many hours we had the most person recording. Then we can look at next year and see how successful that was.
I love that. Um, Someone's asking too on specific events. So they're asking what's the most successful event? And I think that could be framed in terms of participation. It could be like this the story you told about the 500 that turned into multiple for some people. But is there an event that stands out for you from the last year that how by however you would qualify it just feels like your either your favorite or your most successful event of the year?
Oh
That
my
maybe is
goodness, so many.
or just
uh,
a cool story that you want to share with us for particular events.
well, there was an event that it was right when I started that we had here for Children's Hospital, and we had the volunteers make rocks for a garden. So the patients that are in the hospital or the parents can go into this garden just like to walk around, just to meditate, to pray, uh, and they can take one rock and bring it with them. And those were like motivational rocks.
Mhm.
And our volunteers, our employees, created the most beautiful rocks ever. It was so beautiful, and they were so excited, and they were really, really into the events and what we're doing. And they made different rocks. So that is one of them. I think there is like a lot. I love all the volunteer events. I get so excited when I am at the volunteer events and people are like loving what they're doing. And it's hard for me to pick one, but that's one of the first ones that I organized, that I led. And I remember like washing the rocks like a few days before in my driveway, making sure that they were ready for the event. And it was really special to see uh, the love and the attention that everyone puts in each of those rocks.
That sounds like a really, really memorable event.
Yeah, it
Also, it's a
was.
really good example of the fun things that can be part of your job. And as someone who does what you do, is like washing rocks in the driveway to prepare for an event. I love that story. Um, Someone else is asking for an individual's personal growth, it looks like. So, what impact have you seen volunteering have on an individual's personal growth and development?
Um, well, looking at the people that volunteer, I think it gives people a different perspective in life. And I think a lot of people maybe has never thought about it or didn't realize that in their communities, maybe there was such need. And I think it's very special to see that sometimes people realize how fortunate they are and how much they can do being in the position that they are to do something for others. And uh, like some people also don't realize that, uh, right down the street, we have this nonprofit organization assisting this specific group of people. And I think it really makes people more aware of those things. And I want to also talk a little bit about the champions in organizing events, because I think that is also very important. I think, and there was one of the questions on the chat that I answered. One of the things that our team asked for when we gave them a survey is that they wanted more opportunities for team buildings and also to develop themselves. And I created here at Arrow, we have access to the LinkedIn Learning platform. Our employees can do any courses there. So I created some paths, some learning paths there for people to learn about public speaking, about project management, about what was the other one? Public speaking, project management, and event planning. So I think our champions, they have opportunities to learn all of those things. And I think not only, right, they can get in touch with all these other feelings and learnings from the volunteer side, but they can also learn these other things. So it's really a great opportunity for volunteers to um, really develop themselves personally, and I believe also professionally, in the sense that sometimes they do something that they have never done before. So last year we had our Tech for Good campaign. Uh, and it was amazing to see people that have never done anything with the screwdriver, or were not like, or were saying, oh my gosh, I never like did anything like that, to be able to do it and say, oh my gosh, look what I did. There was an employee that asked me to take a picture of her with a solar lamp that she had put together, because she wanted to show her husband what she had done, because she said, he's not going to believe I did something like that. So I think even with, like the events, people can also learn something that may help them either professionally or personally or at home, like maybe doing something with a screwdriver in the future.
I love that. And we've talked a lot about balance today. And for volunteer champions, I think it really is about balancing, like, what are they doing for us and what does this do for them? And that professional development piece is really tangible. I love that you've taken it an extra step for LinkedIn Learning. I think also for many of them, it may be their first experience leading a thing, but also leading a group of people to accomplish, a shared objective. And gaining confidence in those skills is a huge what's in it for them in terms of, because they're investing their time. Like it's something they do on top of their work. I think that helps it to be really rewarding for them professionally too.
Yep.
One other question I want to get to before we wrap up today. You alluded to this a little bit earlier. I know people have lots of questions about this in general, but when it comes to your volunteering incentive programs, can you share a little bit about your either dollars for doers or volunteer time off that you do?
Yeah, sure. Here at Arrow, we give each employee $20 an hour for every hour they volunteer, up to $250. So it is really great for them. And I tell the champions to tell others, and I tell them during volunteer events that's benefit that the company is giving us, and we should take advantage of it. And it's really great to have dollars for doers as an incentive for people to volunteer, because they have the opportunity to do good and then do some more good. So I always tell them, like, hey, don't forget, you're just getting $20 for being here today. You can wait and have a big chunk to give your $250 when you get that to donate to one organization, or you can give it to several different organizations. So I think having the dollars for doers is really amazing, and it gives an extra uh, an extra element of doing even more good. And knowing that the company supports what we're doing, and they want the employees to volunteer and do good.
I love that. And it's a really good way to get people to report too. So you can truly measure what you're doing as an overall company, especially with those individual hours that, like, there may be like, okay, but why would I go record it in the thing? Um, from a couple of stats from our VQ report, I'll share with you all as well. Dollars for doers, we see about 38% of companies are doing some sort of dollars for doers program. That could be the really traditional volunteer grants where it's like the org you volunteer with, that's the one that gets the grant. But to what you've just shared, there are a lot more flexible programs too, where you can volunteer with one and give to another, or even give to many. And then volunteer time off policies, we see that in about 57% of companies are leveraging that. And from a policy standpoint, that one can be just as hard as dollars for doers to get approved, because there is an indirect monetary cost to that in terms of people actually taking time off. But those are two of the most common enablers we see that fall into that. When you're doing that, we typically see about 1.5 times the amount of volunteering participation. So thank you so much for sharing what you all are doing, Mady. And thank you for
You're
joining us
welcome.
over overall, this has been super fun. I really appreciate you sharing your expertise with us. And congrats on all of your growth. And here's to more continued growth this year.
Thank you so much, Missy. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.